future is here. You now have the power to unlock the secrets of the hobby. An innovation that will change the way the industry works. The game changer is here. Card Ladder.
Hey everyone, this is Josh back with Cardboard Chronicles, and today I'm joined by Jack, aka SunsFan8 on Instagram. How's it going, man?
Good. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Hey, so why don't you just start us off and tell us about yourself and your background in the hobby?
All right. I'm trying to think. When did I start? I started about 2008, 2009. My username is SunsFan8 because I started with basketball. I was a huge Suns. I still am, even if the franchise is slowly killing me because we don't pay anyone. But I started as a Suns collector. Started with basketball. I remember breaking those old Upper Deck blasters back in the day, the 08, 09, just getting hyped over like Chris Paul jersey cards. That was the greatest thing ever for me. And then when I started falling in love with football more. So I slowly moved to football cards, things like that. Plus the market was just so much cheaper, especially as a kid. Like I'm not going to go out and be buying like $1,000 cards on the regular as a child at the time. So I just slowly moved into football and started collecting Arizona Cardinals. And I feel like I've grown to one of the best Arizona Cardinal collectors and team collectors there is, mostly because not a lot of Cardinal collectors out there, but I'm happy to do it. And yeah, that's where I'm at.
So what players are you collecting on the Cardinals?
Larry Fitzgerald, of course, greatest of all time. Andy Isabella is my focus this year. I really like him. He's a good guy. Met him in a Dave and Buster's one time. That was a really weird experience seeing the guy you collect in an arcade, but it was a lot of fun doing that. Let me think who else. My first one was Jermaine Gresham. And he came to the Cardinals, which was the weirdest thing in my life. Just someone text me like, "Hey, did you hear the Gresham news?" I'm like, "What?" And the player I collected in 2010, before he even came to the Cardinals, was a Cardinal, and that was the weirdest feeling in the world for me. But that was so much fun. Mostly just whatever Cardinals floats my boat at the time. I don't really focus too much. It's solely just I see something, plan like financially to try to get it, and then hopefully get it for the collection. But Fitz, Isabella right now. I'm slowly converting to Murray. I know I'm not big time enough for like the huge Murray market yet, but yeah.
So would you consider yourself a super collector?
Oh, absolutely. I really hope no one is as insane as me to collect Cardinals to this extent.
What's a super collector for you? Just to educate some people, because I don't think I've had like a true super collector on yet.
To me, it's someone who feels like they can compete for the best of a certain collection, whether it be team, player, set, anything like that. If you have the feeling of you can compete with others, or say like I am the top of this market collecting wise, I feel like that's worthy of a super collector. Not necessarily, you don't have to be like the best, but to think I have a collection that not everyone can keep up with. That's what a super collector is to me.
A lot of people think it's that you get every single card possible, and that's not true, right?
A lot of people focus on how many base cards you have in collection. I'm in these super collector groups, and they want to get like a percentage of how many total cards you have. But that includes like getting every base card from every set that's ever created to me, especially with these old vintage guys who like, if you like Ken Griffey, they want you to get every like Ken Griffey like 90s card in existence. And that's not really the same thing to me, because you can do that. But if you can focus your money on, instead of getting a bunch of base cards, getting one high-end card, I'd rather have that.
So why don't you talk about that? How do you plan out your financials to know that you're going to go after a player, know that it's not going to be super cheap?
Yeah.
You kind of have to plan ahead. How are you doing that?
It's mostly, I like eBay's format because someone puts something up for sale, you see it, you wait for it, and then you buy it. It's not someone just sends a DM to you hoping that you'll give them money or anything like that. For me, I'm not the richest person in the world by any means. I'm 23, fresh out of college. All my money basically comes from buying and selling cards, things like that. And for me, it's basically I see something on eBay or someone lists something. Hopefully, I have the funds by then. Hope, or maybe I don't. But keep that in the back of your mind, or something like someone posts. Keep that in the back of your mind. Start selling, preparing for that to end, and hopefully by the time it ends, you have enough money.
So are you actually trying to buy and sell cards as well to fund some of these
Yeah,
other things you know are coming?
absolutely. Yep. I don't treat it as a business per se because I like to keep it light. I like to have fun. That's why I'm in the hobby. But at the same time, you need money to survive in the hobby. Nobody's going to hand you cards for free.
Right.
So, yeah.
Are there certain players that you try to buy knowing that you'll sell them easier? Maybe not, like you're probably not going to flip and make money on
Yeah.
Isabella is my point.
I have to think. I'm not much of a flipper just because I like cards too much. When I see cards I like, I don't think, oh, I want to sell them immediately for a profit. It's, oh, this is really neat. Now I have to think about this for a week of whether I want to keep it or not because it's much nicer in person than I expected. There's sometimes, mostly, if it's, I do that more with memorabilia, I'd say. If I see an auction house item, think, oh, I can sell this for more than I bought it for. The only other time I can think of is when like I buy something and someone offers me like 5 times how much I paid for it. Then I have to be like, okay, you can have it. You want it more than I do.
So you're basically like funding new purchases with other stuff that so you're like
Exactly.
you're sort of consolidating at points, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I obviously can't keep everything that I have. I wish I could because there's some things I absolutely miss having. But again, you need money to buy things, so it happens.
So people that have been watching my channel recently have seen me kind of like branch out a little bit into like other things like football, and I've been talking about Pokemon a lot. And I
Hmm.
thought it'd be cool to get someone who's got like a real deep knowledge and like community aspect of that thing. So that's why I brought you on for football. So can you just talk about collecting football, knowing what you know around football, like the kind of like investing thing that's happening, the base
Yeah.
card, PSA 10 Prism. So can you talk about collecting
Oh
football
God.
like inside of that bubble?
First off, I do not get the Prism hype. I do not understand how, like, I understand why people would buy it. I do not understand why people would buy it at these prices. Like Kyler base PSA 10s going for like $500 now, and I absolutely do not understand that. Because you look comparatively at what you could buy for that $500, like you can buy easily a Larry Fitzgerald game used shield. And as a Cardinal collector and someone who collects, I would immediately choose a Fitzgerald game used shield over a PSA 10 base card of Kyler Murray. That's what I don't understand about that. But market wise, football is the cheapest of all the major sports, I'd say, just because there's no international market. It's all supply and demand. And when you have no international market competing like they do in basketball, baseball, now soccer, because soccer is blowing up. Football is primarily an America only sport. You have some of the overseas people competing with you as well, but it's very few compared to basketball because we all know how big basketball is overseas. And that's part of the reason why I moved to football cards, just because as someone growing up, not the most, I don't have the most money in the world. It's a lot easier for me to collect football cards because everything just seems so cheaper comparatively. And
Right.
especially if you are looking to invest, it's always quarterbacks. Quarterbacks have the longest staying power in the league, and that's what people are looking for. Like you can take like the best wide receivers and running backs, like Saquon Barkley will sell, Julio Jones will sell, DeAndre Hopkins will sell, but they still won't sell at the levels like Jarrett Stidham before he even played a game. He's still not playing a game, especially with Cam around. Like he's still outselling these guys RPA wise from like National Treasures, Contenders, things like that, Flawless. And I don't understand that either. I mean I do, but at the same time, as a collector, again, I would easily take Julio Jones RPAs over Jarrett Stidham RPAs. Julio Jones is one of the best wide receivers of all time. I'm not sure if Jarrett Stidham will start an actual football game.
He probably will eventually. He might be like a Matt Flynn kind of guy.
Oh God, don't even talk about Matt. He cost me a fantasy championship that one year. He had the like 500-yard game against Detroit. I saw Christian Ponder. He had -2.
um,
Uh,
I think that's what's kind of interesting to me about football is like the people that I'm finding and meeting that aren't collecting quarterbacks. I'll set that aside, is that they're all
Mhm.
like passionate collectors, and I've always found that to be like a really strong base for a community. What do you think about that?
I think if you're looking to collect, most people who are diehard collectors won't go after the like hype players, the Stidhams, Murray's, Locks, people like that. They'll go like you can tell by they'll go for old school players, and I'm not talking like Tom Brady or anything like that. They'll collect like I'm trying to think of like lovably obscure quarterbacks. Like you'll see like Michael Vick collectors out there. You'll see who else? I'm trying to think of quarterbacks on the spot that wouldn't be like the big name, but you'll see also Hall of Fame collectors like Barry Sanders is a good one that like everyone knows and people will still go after. Jim Brown. I'm thinking running backs too. I just like running
Walter
backs. That's
Payton. Walter
Walter
Payton has
Payton
big
exactly.
collectors, yeah.
Oh yeah. Since they added Derek Thomas to cards now, people are really going after him when they added the flawless sneakers. And that was a great set. I hate flawless, but that was a great set. Can't even deny.
Do you think there's any connection to collecting sports cards with fantasy football? Because I've always had this feeling that like fantasy football guys would really love this, and I don't know why it
Yeah,
hasn't really clicked yet with them.
I absolutely like as a fantasy football player myself, there are times where I'm like, oh, I know this guy's card prices. Maybe he's worth something like in an eighth round draft and stash or something like that. When it comes to everyone else, though, I'm not sure because I remember playing fantasy baseball and like Trey Turner was like a first round pick all across the board. And his card prices did not reflect that. Like he has that talent of giving people that level that you should draft him number one, like if you have like a fifth pick overall or something like that. But his cards just don't match that, which is weird to me.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I just feel like there's some connection with like people who play fantasy football wanting to like sort of get into cards, and I don't want to say gamble like they do in fantasy
Yeah,
football, but like just get that same kind of connection feeling that they have where they like feel like they own a piece of stock of that player, right? Like you can't have him
yeah,
on, you can't have Julio Jones in the Cardinals, but you can get him in fantasy.
exactly.
You can buy his cards, right?
You'd still root for the player, even though he's not on your team, if you have some investment in him, like in a fantasy football league. So I
Right.
definitely see that market.
And dude, there's like people that I know that'll root for. I'm from Arizona. That's like why we have this Arizona Cardinals connection going here.
Hmm.
I'll have people in my league that'll like root for their fantasy teams like against the Cardinals. They'll be like,
I
no,
can't. No, I'm always Cardinals first. I understand why, but at the same time, I can't. You have to like really make it tough for me to draft Seahawks in any
right?
fantasy football league. Like Russell Wilson has to drop tremendously for me to draft him. I can't.
Because it's too painful to have to root
It's
for him,
stupid. I cannot root for the Seahawks. It's so hard to be like, oh, good, Russell Wilson scored against us. I can't.
right? That's kind of the nice thing about cards is like you're not with fantasy. You're sort of forced into picking certain players
Mhm.
because you have to build a team. Whereas this is like, dude, I can just go all Cardinals if I want.
Yeah, exactly. No one's gonna hold a gun to my head telling me to collect Chris Carson anytime soon. Like I have no investment in that. So if Chris Carson doesn't do well, I will cheer because he is on the team I hate.
Right? Are there any other people collecting Larry Fitzgerald?
I mean, there are a good amount of people who collect. They're mostly Cardinals fans. There's a strange amount of people from Minnesota who collect him just
Mm,
because he's from Minnesota. That's a couple of the people I've met that collect him. But mostly it's a bunch of the people who collect Fitzgerald are the same people who just like collect everyone and they just want like one for the stash, you know. When I see in like the high end groups, there's a couple of people who collect Cardinals, but that's not their main focus. Their main focus is the like rip and flip kind of stuff, Zion,
yeah.
Morant, those guys. But mostly, yeah, most of the Fitzgerald collectors are like me, who are just Cardinal collectors in general. And if you're a Cardinal collector, like Fitzgerald is the top. There can't be anyone above him. Just everything he's done for the team and the city itself.
Yeah. Can you talk about your Instagram for a second? You have quite a bit of following. You have a lot of followers for someone that collects like Cardinals players. Like it seems like you would have just a few hundred based on the cards you have, but you have a lot. So how do you do that?
I I honestly don't know. I got started. Shout out to Bernie, the Niner card collector. I did a deal with him in a parking lot in my old high school because we're both from the same town, and he told me about Instagram, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. Then I just started like posting my cards rapid fire just to have them on. And then after once I kind of got into the rhythm, I started just posting jokes under caption under photos. I just like doing that. I feel hopefully I'm funny. Hopefully people think I'm funny. And then it just kind of started from there of me just like posting. I really hope it's because the captions and people aren't looking to make fun of me or anything like that. It's fine if they are, but I just wanted to be that one guy. There wasn't like the funny guy in the community yet, I don't think. And before Tyra Sports Guy, shout out to him, came too. Me and him became friends, and we kind of both did that sort of thing. He posts memes to the story, and I slowly did too. Hopefully, it's just environment for people who look to have fun in the hobby. My page, because I keep it very light, and I make fun of the whole like hashtag invest community because I'm not a part of that. It's fine if you are. I don't want to throw shots at anyone like that. Like if you make money, go for it. But like my page is for people like, hey, do you like cards? Come here. Let's go all enjoy cards together.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I think there's a big attraction to that in the hobby, because there are a lot of people that just collect. There are
yeah,
people that only invest, and there's people that do both. So it's kind of nice to have like these different niches. So I think what I'm getting at is like people maybe feel like they can't have a big following because of who they collect, and I just like that's just not true, and you're kind of proof
yeah.
of that. So it's kind of more like, the fun you're having and how you display what you're doing.
I tell people like collect who you like. If you enjoy collecting, like if you enjoy collecting like Noah Fant, I'm just thinking of a random rookie off the top of my head. If Noah Fant's your guy, go collect Noah Fant. No one like don't let anyone tell you to not collect Noah Fant if you genuinely enjoy collect Noah Fant. No matter who it is, if you just enjoy collecting a player, collect the player. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Why don't you show us some cards, maybe
Oh yeah, for
some
sure.
fits, sprinkle in some other. I know you got a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
pulled out.
Isabella stuff.
Yeah, I brought I'll start with the one Isabella, the one that like broke me inside to get, but is true NT Shield Auto. This one, I have the entire rainbow, the Master Rainbow, every one, which boy was that hard to do because the tag one of one, I had to message the guy like 5 times, and he just like missed me. Like, hey, I'm willing to overpay you because I'm dumb for this. I just want to get this done. He's like, okay, here you go. Yes, there's the card. I'm like, yay. And then the last one I needed was the Isabella Shield, and the guy who pulled it was like, oh, this is a meaningful card to me. I'm like, oh no, my wallet. That never means I'm going to pay a little amount. That means I'm going to pay a liver.
Right.
But he was very cool. I pestered him so much. So if he's watching this somehow, thank you for dealing with my nonsense for like a couple of days of just me constantly like, can I have it? Can I have it? Because I was going to go nuts if I had literally every card other than this one. I
Right.
just couldn't. Let me see what this was my luckiest break in the hobby, the Fitzgerald contenders. I got a pretty big sale done. The cards I'm thinking about that I sold actually were worth a lot more now. Like I sold one of the LeBron football autos, which at the time was like, this is a dumb card. Then turns out people really wanted those. Oh no.
Can you talk about that contenders card? I think not a lot of people
Yeah.
know about like. I think
Yeah.
football in general is new, and I know the contenders is huge. So just talk about contenders.
So this is probably Fitzgerald's biggest rookie card. I'm very lucky to have it, very fortunate, because he was short printed out of this set to 50. So this is his rarest like rookie auto that's not a parallel. And contenders is just a pretty big set overall for football cards. I was lucky enough to get it for $830 at the time because I just sold a bunch of cards. I was a freshman in college and I was like, let's do something dumb. Like buying a Fitzgerald card for $800 instead of food.
Right.
And yeah, I was lucky that the market really took off after like it was constantly the Fitz market blew up because people kept wondering, oh, is he going to play another year? And somehow the answer was always yes. I thought for sure this was going to be his last year in 2019 after everything that happened. But I mean, bless him, he gave the franchise another year after everything he's been through with all the horrible quarterbacks we've given him. Oh my God.
Dude, Skelton, he should have been good. John Skelton.
I mean, Skelton was a saint compared to Ryan Lindley. Lindley is a nice guy, but I remember this one story. Like, he was a substitute teacher in high school and someone was watching his highlights on his phone, and Lindley just walked up to him and was like, "Yeah, I don't have many highlights."
That Panthers game in the playoffs, I wanted to die. I was like, can you just throw like one pass?
The biggest just I quit moment of my life was the moment we got an interception in the red zone. We're like down 10 at
Yes.
the time. And I'm thinking in my head, okay, this game is rough, but this is the moment. Everyone's come up for this moment in particular. We can come back this moment. Immediately throws a pick, and I'm out of here. Walk outside. Goodbye, everyone. It's been a good season. Just I wanted
One
to cry.
one thing I noticed about football, and this is kind of true of other collections, is that you can own like the best of something, the best of a
Mhm.
player. You can get like, people dream about owning a Shield 101 RPA, and you can get these kind of cards at a fraction of the cost of like a base card of a popular player.
Absolutely. That's what I don't get. These high-end groups, they keep passing around the same base cards, and I'm just thinking like you can have some really cool cards. Like you can just have like logo patch autos of Hall of Famers that are game used, one of one things like that. And people stick to these base cards, and I don't understand it. I get having like one or two just to like keep in the collection, but these guys are like focusing on only base cards. And I don't that's not the hobby for me, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of it's just like a lack of education. Like they come in and those are kind of like what's in their face. And then
Yeah.
as you show them, that's kind of what I'm trying to do is like show that there's more interesting things out there to do.
Like we've talked about this before, people coming in looking to invest, I have no problem with that as long as you treat the hobby with respect and treat everyone who's trying to collect genuinely with respect. Because there are some people who come in who don't know like who a big time player is or what kind of set is supposed to be valuable, yet you're trying to sell me things at like a higher rate, you know? And that just leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Talk more about that. Like what have you seen? I mean, especially with like the last few months of like you've obviously
Yeah.
seen it in the last couple of months. Like what particularly has bothered you?
You can just see on eBay, like every, if you look at eBay, every person is an invest card. Like you'll see like Chris Taft cards with hashtag invest in the title of the sale. There's just this such invest culture of everything needs to make money. And just like every other investment, some things don't make money. Some things just fall in stock.
Right.
It just happens. But some people don't, the people who are newer think, with these like high end people coming in saying, "Look how much money I made off cards." They think, "Oh, I can do that too. It's easy. I just buy a card and sell it for higher." And sometimes that doesn't happen. But you have these people, like especially in the sneaker community, a bunch of sneakerheads came into cards and do not know what they're doing. And it is not fun to. I mean, it's kind of fun to watch, but it's not fun to watch.
Right. Yeah, I've been in the last couple of weeks trying to get people to realize that like yes, you're making money on base cards today, but like I just don't think it's sustainable.
If the bubble pops, it's going to pop hard and everything is going to drop. I want to see how the market turns out after quarantine, like all this passes, because it really turned up when quarantine hit because people thought, I have nothing to do. I'm just going to buy cards all day.
Yeah.
So everything just skyrocketed in value during a time where no sports were going on.
Yeah. It's like all speculation. No, there's no results.
Oh, absolutely. Like people like I I keep saying it, but Bull is blowing up right now because 16 points in a scrimmage and he's outselling like DeAndre Ayton at this point. Who boy.
You've mentioned game worn a couple times. What is like player worn versus game worn, and why is it important to you?
Game worn is essential to me. I am very say no to player worn movement because game worn was something that was worn in a game has meaning actually on the player that was on the card. Player worn is anything just worn at like an event and a signing, and those tend to be like size 60 jerseys, which are like a wedding dress on most of these players that have like the word rookie on the back. Or for like veterans, they do like Mitchell and Ness tags, which are jerseys that have never ever been worn in a professional football game. So you immediately know that these are basically fake patches, which gives me the worst feeling in the world. There was a set in 2016 NT where Panini used like team shop jerseys, like size XL jerseys that you can only buy in like a team shop in like a stadium. They aren't authentic jerseys. And it was of like Mike Singletary, who didn't even exist in the NFL when these jerseys were made. And it made me think like, who buys this? Who sees this and it's like, this is something I need.
So if they put them on the players for like a second, and then they take them off, and then put them in
Not
cards.
even like I've talked to people, players will literally just like put their arm through like one of the sleeves, and
Oh
that
my
can constitute
god.
player. For footballs, it's really funny. For footballs that they use for like player worn footballs, they literally just like slap the football, and that's player worn, or that's player used. They just have a football like down the row, and they just like,
How
there
should
you
it
go.
how should it work? So like obviously Panini is doing this to save time and save money, and they're doing it
Mhm.
to get products out. How would you like them to do it?
I understand that Panini can't get every game used jersey in the world. I understand that. I'm not asking that the first product that drops, like they should have game worn jerseys from the first game a rookie has ever played. Understand that. People always think like, but like player worn brings down the box prices, and it's hard to get game worn jerseys. No, it doesn't. Boxes have been going up in value over time. Like it's much more expensive to open football boxes now, but also Panini is a multi-million-dollar organization. I believe that they can afford to get some game-worn jerseys. For example, David Johnson, who I collected very heavily before he got traded, like it sucks, but we got DeAndre Hopkins, so I'm not going to sweat. But he still has no game-worn jerseys in cards. He has no game-worn patches whatsoever in any product that Panini has made. I have a game worn jersey in that room of David Johnson next there. I am not a multi-million dollar man. Panini is a multi-million dollar company. There is no reason that this like 23-year-old internet man should have more game worn David Johnson jerseys than a multi-million dollar company whose job it is to make sports cards. That just doesn't make sense to me.
So the game worn stuff like that you collect, maybe for like someone new that's getting into this difference. How do you tell the difference?
On the back, it will say game worn instead of player worn. Like this game worn material is guaranteed by so and so instead of this player worn material is guaranteed by so and so. There's also times where you can just see, like I said, every Mitchell and Ness jersey that you see is player worn.
Yeah.
Like any tag you see, any tag of something that would not be on an NFL field. Like if you see a size 60 tag in anything, that's going to be player worn. But yeah, the best way to check is just to look at the back of the card. Here, let me see if I can. Yeah, let me use a modern one like this Fitzgerald shield. I don't know if you can see it, but it will say game worn on the back right there.
Yeah.
So it just takes that little extra time to check on the back, see what you're looking at. Most sellers nowadays, because people like myself have been very passionate about the player worn game worn divide, and I feel like eventually the market will catch up
Yeah.
with this, especially if Panini just stops making game worn cards, which they're going to do for Larry Fitzgerald, and I'm very sad. But yeah, if I feel like if you're like someone looking to collect like game used is a must because it just has meaning instead of a player worn jersey that was just poked by them one time during a summer day.
Right. Yeah, I've been collecting for
Hmm.
a long time, and it just hasn't been in my face enough to like
Hmm.
for me to understand it. But it just like now that you're describing it to me, it just seems like almost ridiculous that you would even buy anything that's not game worn.
It's not a problem in basketball and baseball as much as in football because basketball is easier because one, it makes more money for Panini, and two, it's 82 games versus 16,
Gotcha.
which is why I'm not saying like again, I'm not going to get mad that Panini doesn't have like rookie game used jerseys immediately or
Right.
something like that. But it just hurts me when I'm looking at these auction houses and seeing like game worn jerseys of like big time players like Aaron Rodgers. I saw a game worn jersey of him, and Panini's using player worn Aaron Rodgers patches. So that just Panini has the resources. I just wish that they would use them to make their products better.
Are some
And
of
in
the older
baseball,
are some of the older sets like but we know that like some of the SP Authentic and like Exquisite and then even like the earlier National Treasures, the guys haven't played any games yet when they're getting
mhm.
these sets out. So are they just like doing a like photo shoot jerseys or
Yeah,
how?
they go to a photo shoot. They like Larry Fitzgerald in his SPA rookie patch autos used a Pro Bowl jersey for his. We talked about that in the DMs. I remember that. Sometimes actually though, the rookie patch autos can be game worn. Like some I know off the top of my head, like Aaron Rodgers SP Authentics were game worn. Gardner Minshew's NT rookie patch autos were game worn this year. That was a good touch by Panini. That was a really good touch. Um, all the exquisite like 0304 exquisite like the LeBron year, those were game used. At least I know LeBron was game used. I'm pretty sure everyone is game used, but
Mm.
yeah, so it is possible, but those sets come out later in the year. Like the products that are dropping like now, you're not going to expect game worn from
Is
the
that why
rookie
NT
anytime
comes
soon.
out at the end, do you think? To maybe, like, try to get some?
They used to. Well, here's the thing. They used to, for the non-rookie photo shoot rookies, they used to put game worn patches of those as like, hey, we recognize that these players did well in the year and we didn't give them a rookie set. So here's some game worn patches for you to kind of make up for that. But they don't do that as much anymore. I don't know why they don't.
Yeah. It seems like there'd be a lot of people that would, a lot of, especially like younger kids getting into it that would relate to you, and like how they have to find different unique ways to collect. What advice would you give to someone younger coming in that's like maybe not as into the making money side and they kind of want to like have fun with it? What would you say to that person?
I really hope I can like help some kids out. I want younger collectors. It's just a really tough time because everything is just so much more expensive right now for them. And that's why my best advice would be to be choosy, to be picky with what you're looking for, because you're going to have so many people trying to sell you something. You're going to post like, "Hey, I'm looking for so and so player," and you'll have 5 people in your DMs trying to sell you something. And you have to understand, you don't have to buy everything you see, especially when you don't have this like large amount of money stored up to spend on cards. Kids nowadays, like, they're not going to have that like $30,000 to spend on cards or anything like that. They're not going to have like a Zion NT RPA anytime soon. So just be choosy, understand what you're looking for, understand what you want to collect, and go with that. You don't have to buy everything you see. And again, like, buy quality. I like game worn. Game worn's cool to me. If you like refractors, buy refractors. That's cool. Yeah.
That's cool, man. This question might get you in trouble, but I'm going to ask it. It's not what you're thinking. That's the next question.
Oh, good.
Do you think football cards are undervalued?
Whew. That's tough. That's actually tough. Compared to the other sports, yes. As a whole, I mean, it depends because I feel like game worn is undervalued. I might be biased because I'm a game worn collector, but I feel like game worn is undervalued when again, like Kyler PSA 10s are going for 500 a pop, and that's just a base card. I feel like the right cards, I think across all sports, I think the right cards are being undervalued. I think the Hall of Famers, the game worn things, those aren't getting the value that they deserve. Because it's harder to invest in these Hall of Fame players. That's why I think they're being undervalued because they're more of a slow burn. With these rookies, it takes one game or a couple games for their value to increase. Like, if you want to invest a smart player, like, invest in Michael Jordan. Like, his cards will always go up slowly and surely. It's slowly and surely, and people want the boomer bust. Like, I'm going to make $100 in a second type of players.
Yeah. I wasn't like gonna grade you on your answer, but that was the correct answer. I feel like that's just the
Yes, I did
case,
it.
not just in football. It's just like sports cards are expensive, but that's mostly what we see. Like
Mhm.
you've shown us some of these different unique pieces of like game worn shields of like one of the best players of all time, and you're able to get quite a bit of it. And you, like you said, you don't have infinite money, so you're still able to find stuff
Yeah,
that,
it's not impossible. You just have to work hard. That's the thing. It's a lot of work keeping up with everything,
yeah,
and
totally.
not a lot of people want to put that work in. And I get it.
Just kind of buttoning up the interview. That was kind of what I was trying to get at. Was like I was trying to find
Mm.
someone who is passionate, spends time on it, creative, and you sort of like found your niche. And I feel like you've built something that's like a little bit undervalued.
Oh, I'm very happy with where I'm at. I'm very happy because, like, again, not a lot of Cardinals collectors because, shockingly, people don't like collecting the historically least successful franchise in all major sports. But it hurts. We haven't won since this World War II. It's great.
I think people that come in are wanting to build collections like you have, but they also don't want to feel like it's going to be worth nothing in a couple years.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what you're getting at is like you can still hopefully find a little bit of both.
There's always going to be value in cards no matter who it is. Like, obviously the worst players will sell for less and the better players will sell for more, but if you have those like high end cards of players who are still like relevant now, like they're never going to be zero. You might lose money, you probably will lose money. It's investing again. If you're looking to invest, not every investment works out, but it will never be just you go flat broke off of cards. It'll never be zero.
All right, now it's the question you don't want to have it asked.
Okay, here we go.
So you're pretty outgoing with your distaste for some of these things, and you mentioned it, like
Yes.
the anti-invest. Can you just talk about that, like how you feel that maybe helps or hurts you in the hobby, or maybe just sort of like the macro of what that is to you?
It's hard to. I don't know how people take me. Honestly, I can only see how I present myself because like I have an anime profile picture and I just yell about sports cards all day. Like I don't know how people will take that. I feel like I present some good points at times, but the main thing I always gripe about in the hobby itself is the lack of accountability that people present whenever a major scam happens or any scam happens. Really, people are really eager nowadays to defend the people that they like instead of just saying this person did something bad, maybe I won't give them as much money now. Especially for these people who are looking to get money out of you and using your money to do something illegitimate. If that's your business model, I don't want to give you money. Yet some of these people still are able to thrive in the hobby. And that's the main thing I think needs to be fixed is the lack of accountability in the community for these people who are looking to take advantage of you and yet are appreciated.
What can we do as a community to stop that?
I never want to say like people call it cancel culture from me. First of all, cancel culture does not exist in my opinion. Like people who get canceled, like whenever someone does something bad and like they get canceled, it's always like they get arrested. Now, of course, they're not going to do anything when they get arrested. But most of these people are like, oh, cancel so-and-so. They just do fine. They're fine. And that's the same thing here, I believe. In the hobby, just don't give money to people who are looking to take advantage of you. There's so many great people in this hobby. There's so many great breakers. There's so many great sellers. There's so many great traders. Stick with people who genuinely have an interest in this hobby and are looking to, even if they're looking to make money, there's no problem with making money. But if they treat the hobby and they treat you with respect, feel free to give them business. These people who see you as a dollar sign or looking to manipulate other people into a dollar sign, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I like. The hobby is so close to just being this like really great place for everyone to just come together and be this community. Yet they're just the people who look because when money is involved, everyone's going to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Like there's no hobby where people are looking to pay $500,000 for a Zion Williamson card right now. There is money in the sports card world. Yeah, bro. Yeah, I'm totally with you there. That's 500 G's. But whenever there's something with money involved, people will look to take advantage of it, and you just have to make sure to stay away from those people. And yeah.
Do you feel like the hobby's in a good spot? Just on the same topic, like, do you feel the good outweighs the bad, or do you feel like it's getting worse? Do you feel like we can do something to tip it back? What do you think?
I feel like it's still worth being in. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be here. I still love participating in the hobby. Like some of my closest friends came solely from just me posting dumb things online with cards. It's like, oh, I like your dumb thing. I like your dumb things, and then we become dumb thing friends. Like if you can, the problem is I've said this. I have a mall cop personality. I see something go wrong, and I just like complain about it on my story. And like I do complain about a lot, but it's never from a place where I just want to be negative and just yell about things. It comes from a place of, hey, this is a hobby I love. I wanted to see it at its best form. I want it to be better. I don't want these people like stealing and taking advantage of people. That's all I ask. I just want us all to like get along, you know?
Yeah. I'm gonna
last thing I want is like drama over cards. Like
yeah. I'm gonna bring Tyler on next. Can you tell me, like, did you get it? So did you start posting before him, or how did you guys are pretty
I
similar in your
yeah,
taste?
it was funny. I barely started posting, like I was at like 200 followers or something when he started posting. I was like at 500 when he was 200, and he just blew up because one, he has an amazing collection, and two, he's just like one of the best people on here without a doubt, and genuinely cares about the hobby like I do. And we just bonded over like I liked anime, he liked cartoons. We kind of like meshed with that in the card world because there's not many people out here like repping a cardboard or repping an anime profile picture when it comes to cards. And he always does like regular show and things like that in cartoons. And I could mesh with him and like, we both like cartoons and cards. We're best friends forever. And then turned out we actually just like genuinely like each other and became really good friends.
Because like 4 or 5 people pointed me to you as like someone to go to as like an interesting football account. That's why I messaged you. But when I saw your
Oh,
picture, I was like,
I know.
because I'm like, this is football. It doesn't really. I mean, football
Yeah,
and anime
no,
don't really mix.
No, I totally understand. People talk about this. I'm a weird person. I fully admit this. I have weird taste. I post anime pics like for my profile pics. It's weird. I understand. But at the same time, I want to tell people like, hey, like this is a hobby full of like all sorts of different life and different types of people. I'm a weird person. I will be like totally polite to you if you're polite to me, and we can just mesh together like that. If you want to collect so and so, go for it. If I want to post anime pics, go for it. I never go over the top because I understand like I run a cardboard page. I'm not just gonna like constantly like ask people, oh, what do you think of last night's episode or anything like that.
Right.
But I just think it's a fun way. And there were a couple people in the community that also were into anime. I become super close friends with them too. So it was really nice to see that.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of pointing out that like maybe not everyone's into anime and football, but there's people that are
Yeah.
into all kinds of stuff. Like, and
Yeah, absolutely.
so
Like I'm just glad like I understand like it's a really big turnoff for a lot of people just to come and see, oh, it's that dude on I think Twitter ruined it. Everyone with an anime profile picture on Twitter is the worst person ever.
I
They
think
see that.
I have to look at
They
my
see that.
I have to look at my first DM to you, but it was probably like, do you collect Larry Fitzgerald or like what's going on here?
It's funny, like my first one, my Cardinal collection started with Michael Floyd, which boy did that work out well. When I got the DUI news, I just went, oh, it's over, isn't it? And then he got cut. I'm like, what do I do with all this?
Right.
That was probably still the collection I'm most proud of, though. Even after like selling it all, because I knew it was time to sell. Michael Floyd stuff wasn't going to be worth anything after that.
Right.
That was the hard part. Yeah, I bailed out with Josh Rosen at the right time too. I still feel bad for him though. He absolutely deserves a shot, and he's been with 2 horrible offenses.
Yeah, with no offensive line, he's just getting crushed.
It's like you watch he got sacked the most the 2018 season where he started for us, because I remember this game vividly versus Atlanta where this safety just came in untouched right after he hiked the ball, and he just had to fall to the ground because what else could you do?
Right.
And if you play in that type of environment, you're not going to thrive.
Yeah. All right, man. This has been really fun. Appreciate you coming and spending time with me, and hopefully I'll get Tyler on, and we'll see how that one goes.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Shout out to Tyler.
All right. See you, man.